We've discussed in previous lessons how one of the great things about the ACT Explorer is that you get to use a calculator with it. So I'm going to show you a couple quick tricks. Teachers, please make sure that students have their calculators, and they should have scientific ones. Believe that all the ones in the school should look a little something like this. And these are some really good ones because they actually have a button on them that helps you with fractions. So I'm going to show you how to input a fraction on one of these calculators. I'm going to do the fraction 2/5, and what I'm going to do is use this button right here, this one that looks like a mixed number that has the big A and the little b and the C. That is the fraction button on your calculator. So again, to put in the fraction 2/5, all I'm going to do is hit my 2, then the fraction button, and then the 5. This is what it should look like. Get rid of this glare here. It should look like this. It should have a 2 and a little space behind it, and then a 5. Again, what I did is I hit 2, and then this button right here that looks like a fraction, and a 5. And then voila, I've got the fraction 2/5. Something else, so I can go through and add it to whatever I want, or subtract it, whatever the question's asking me to do. Another thing that's really cool about your calculator is that it'll simplify fractions for you. So let's say I'm just going to show you an example, 4/8. We probably know at home that that'll simplify it to 1/2, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. So if I put in 4, fraction button, and then hit my 8, so that it looks like that, 4 with the little space in the 8, and then I hit enter, look, it simplified it for me to 1/2. So if you're not sure whether the fraction's in simplest form or not, just put it into your calculator, hit the enter button, and voila, it'll simplify it for you. Pretty cool. So let's try another one. So I'm going to do the mixed number this time, 1 2/3. And you still just use your fraction key. So I'm going to hit 1, and then the fraction button, 2, and then the fraction button, again, and a 3. So you got to hit the fraction button in between each of the numbers in the fraction. So this is what 1 2/3 would look like. So this is what it would look like on the paper. This is what it looks like in the calculator. And again, I hit 1, fraction button, 2, fraction button, 3. I've got 1 2/3. You guys try one now. You try to put into your calculator the fraction 3 1/8. So just hitting your buttons. So everybody should have that in their calculator now. I'm going to do, 3, fraction button, 1, fraction button, 8. Your screen should look like mine. You've just put in the fraction 3 1/8, if it does. Let's try one more really quickly. 10 1/6. So you put in 10 1/6. This is what it should look like. I'm going to hit 10. Now notice I didn't hit the fraction button in between my 1 and my 0 because the number 10 is one number by itself. So 10, fraction button, 1, fraction button, 6. If you did it correctly, it should look like this, 10 1/6. Now let's try it with an actual math problem to make sure that we know what we're doing. So I'm going to put into my calculator 4 2/3 plus 5 1/2. So you guys try that. So put in 4 2/3 plus 5 1/2. See what you get. So now let's see if you did it correctly. I'm going to put in, so for the 4 2/3, 4, fraction button, 2, fraction button, 3. So that gives me my 4 2/3. My second number was 5 1/2, so I'm going to do 4 2/3, hit plus 5, fraction button, 1, fraction button, 2. So this is what your screen should have looked like. Notice that, and I can use these little buttons right here to scroll over because I ran out of room on my screen, but all the numbers are still there. So this is what your screen will probably look like because you ran out of room. There's the 5 1/2 and the 2/3, but the 4 got cut off. But if you scroll over using this little button right here, you can see the 4 is still there. So 4 2/3 plus 5 1/2. Then just hit enter. If you did it correctly, you should have gotten 10 1/6. And this is what it looks like with the big 10. So that means 10 1/6. So notice that this, with the little u, 10 1/6, is what it would look like on the paper. So 10 1/6, and then 10 1/6. You guys try one more just to make sure that we got it. So add together 3/4 plus 1 1/5. So take a second and add together 3/4 plus 1 1/5. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you. So I would do 3 fraction button 4 plus, so 3 fraction button 4 plus 1 fraction button 1 fraction button 5. So 3/4 plus 1 1/5. You guys did it right if you ended up with 1 19/20. So it should have looked like this. 1 19/20. On paper, this is what it would look like. 1 19/20. Okay, another cool thing that your calculator will do for you is an exponent. Remember that 4 to the 5th power doesn't mean 4 times 5. It means 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, like 5 times. Okay, it means 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. It means 4 times itself 5 times. That's what 4 to the 5th power means. So sometimes we can miscount, accidentally put too many or too few 4s in there. So the cool thing about your calculator is that it'll figure out an exponent. Remember, the exponent is this little number right here, the 5. It'll figure it out for you. All you have to do in this example is hit 4, and then this little button right here that looks like an arrow, it's called a caret. It's basically lifting up the 5. So 4 to the 5th power, hit enter. You should get 1024. So if you put in 4, the little caret button, and the 5, that's the same thing as this exponent right here. So now you guys try one. Put into your calculator how you think you would do 2 to the 3rd power. So what you should have done is hit 2, this little caret button, and a 3, and hit enter. You did it right if you got 8 for your answer. Last but not least, your scientific calculator also has parentheses on it for you already. So if you've got an order of operations question like this, you can literally just type in the question exactly like how it looks. So 2 and then 3 minus 5 in parentheses. I'm going to put in 2. Here's the parentheses right here on the calculator. 3 minus 5. Close the parentheses. So see how 2 and 3 minus 5 in parentheses looks just like my paper, and it will solve it for me. So I can just hit enter. There I go. My answer is a -4. You guys try one now. Try to type this question. So 6 times 5 plus 7 in parentheses. You try to put it into your calculator. I'll give you just a second. I'm going to go ahead and work it now. So 6 parenthesis 5 plus 7, close parentheses. You did it right if you got 72. So that is all for today for just our basic introduction for some things that your calculator can do to help you. Please make sure that you take all of these things into consideration when you are using your calculator on the Explore test. And just a final warning, make sure you remember that sometimes even calculators can make mistakes because we people are the ones that put the problem into the calculator. Sometimes we can make mistakes. So if you have time, you need to go back and check your work. Make sure you typed in everything correctly. Don't just assume, oh, that's what my calculator said, so it must be right. Make sure that the answer your calculator gives you makes sense. And if you have time, just go back and double check and retype in the problem just to make sure.